ionic bond, the first characteristic is this: ionic compounds have a high melting and the boiling points because they are the bond which is very strong. So they possess a high melting point and boiling point. They are dense because their crystalline forms contain crystalline lattice of tightly packed molecule. So when you talk about the ionic bonds, they are overlap in a such a way, or they are form a bond in a such a way, they have a strong crystal lattice of tightly packed molecules. Molecules are so tightly packed and they form a dense structure. So their crystalline, third point is that their crystalline forms are always soluble in water. And now tell me why they are soluble in water. Let's take a very popular example, salt. When you add a pinch of salt into the water and stir it, you will find all the salt get dissolved into the water. Why happens so? Earlier it's a crystalline form, and the next moment whenever you dissolve it, it is vanished over there. So why this happen? Because they have a strong ionic bond, and whenever they add into the water, this ionic bond gets separated, or the ionic bond which is in between sodium and chlorine, just because of the sharing of electron, I mean donation of electron by the sodium and acceptance by the chlorine, it gets vanished and they form a soluble things, that is a crystal are soluble in the water. This is a major characteristics of the ionic bonds. Crystal cannot conduct electricity in the solid state. That is another unique feature of the ionic bonds. Crystal which are the form, which are the neutral, which are not able to conduct the electricity in their solid states. These are the characteristics we have seen just. And another characteristic are in front of you. The chemical bond generates two oppositely charged ions, that is positive and negative. The metal loses electrons to become a positively charged cation, while non-metal accept those electrons to become a negatively charged anion. So there is a formation of the cation and the anion. Okay, so obviously there is a charge ions. The charges on the anion and the cation correspond to the number of electron donated or received. In case of NaCl, sodium may possess only one positive. Okay, let's consider here sodium. This is a sodium, this is a chlorine. Okay, so now take a drawing. Okay, so sodium has a positive charge, chlorine has a negative charge. Why this is going to happen? So okay, so why this is going to happen? Because sodium only loses one electron towards the chlorine, and chlorine accept only the one electron. Okay, let's talk about the another example. Let's talk about the CaCl. Okay, uh, CaCl2. So in this case, calcium, if we dissociate it, you will get a structure like this. Okay, so what is this? Now let's talk about the its valency. In case of calcium, it will possess 2 plus charge, and this is 2 minus. Why this is so? Calcium 2 plus charge, chlorine only 1 charge, because let's see here what you have written. In the molecule, chlorine molecules are 2, so they get dissociated into 2, and respective of each atom, they possess only one negative charge. But in case of calcium, it is donating 2 electron towards 2 chlorine molecule. I mean 2 chlorine atoms. So that's why the charge on the anions and cation correspond to the number of electron donated. So in this case, sodium donated only 1, so that's why there is a 1 charge appearance. Calcium donates 2 electrons, so there is an appearance of the 2 plus. So these are the things you should clear in your mind. Okay, and the net charge on the compound is 0. So when you talk about the NaCl, the charge on the whole atom is 0. When you talk about ZnCl2, the charge on the whole molecule is a 0. So this is the point we have to consider. Now let's see the electron dot structure of the hydrogen molecule. This is very important point of these chapters and your assignments too. So when you talk about the electron dot structure, see already we have discussed now, but we just focusing on what they are. This is one hydrogen atom, this is second hydrogen atom, this nucleus, this is a electron revolving around it. So whenever there is a combination of both of this, it going to form a molecule and they will share like this. And the area under share, okay, the area under share is called a share pair electrons. They are showing here. See, when you talk about this hydrogen, particularly when you count the electron of this, you count as a 2 electrons, so duplet is complete. When you talk about this hydrogen, it also has a 2 electron in their orbit right now because of the sharing with another. So now this is called the duplet is complete. So hydrogen molecule is formed. So how the dot structures are have to calculate or how to draw. See, this is one electron, this is one electron. Whenever they combine, they have shared. So this is a overlap section, and where you have to put 2 electrons to show that this hydrogen sharing his electron, this hydrogen sharing his this electron, and that's why share pair electron structures is draw like this way. Okay, I hope you understand. Now let's move for the further electron dot structure. Now, before we move ahead, we should know that why there is electron dot structure. See, electron dot structure is representation of how many electrons are taking part in the formation of the bonds. So that is more important information is revealed by electron dot structure. So draw the electron dot structure of the following. Okay, students, I'm giving 2 minutes to draw this. Okay, I'm waiting for you. Okay, as this is a virtual communication, so even I have to draw that, so I'm showing you that. So okay, so let's draw the structure of MgCl2. Okay, so when you talk about the MgCl2, you can find magnesium has a 2 electron, 1 electron. See, here is a dot structure, here is a cross structure. So why we have used dot? See, name is itself is telling about electron dot structure, but when you talk about the sharing of electron, there may be more than the 2 or 2 atoms. So one atom is represented by the 1 dot structure, another atom is represented by the cross. In this case, Mg is dot, Cl is cross. Okay, so now let's talk about that. So Mg, that is magnesium, loses 1 electron or share the electron with one chlorine atom and another electron with second chlorine molecule. So it's formed MgCl2. So this is a dot structure that reveals that Mg has a plus 2 charge because it's donate 2 electrons, and chlorine has only one negative charge because it accepts the 1 electron. And how many chlorine atoms are? 2 atoms are there. So this is a exactly revelation of this. Okay, you can draw in another manner as well. Okay, let's see what these manners are. In case of NaCl, let's talk about the NaCl. Na having a positive charge 1 because it's going to lose only 1 electron. Chlorine has a negative charge because it's going to accept. Okay, so whenever there is a formation of bond within Na and Cl, okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, I'm going to draw a structure here. This represents a sodium ion. This is going to represent a chlorine ion. Now this is a sodium, this is a chlorine. See, I will tell you, sodium has donated 1 electron, correct? And now this is 1 electron. Chlorine has 7 electron in its outermost orbit. So whenever we counting a chlorine, whenever we're going to count a chlorine last shell, we'll find now after sharing of electron, there are 8 electrons. Now sodium electron is so counted here. So now in this case, the chlorine seems to complete its octet and now it's stable right now. So NaCl is a stable right now. As the characteristic NaCl, the net charge on the this is 0. So that is sodium chloride positive and negative charge. So I hope you have understood this. So let's move further. Now in case of CaCl2, in case of CaCl2, we are going to find some things are very similar. So what these are the things? In case of chlorine, sorry, in case of calcium, the positive charge is 2 plus because it's going to share 2 electron to the oxygen. Oxygen has a 2 minus because it's going to have a 2 electron which is shared by the calcium. So there is a formation of bond between calcium and oxygen, and whenever you find a charge you can see a 2 plus and 2 minus here. So this is a structure of CaCl2. Let's draw in a electron dot manner. Let's draw first atomic manner. This is calcium, this is a chlorine. So when you draw this, actually you will get the information as like this is calcium, this is chlorine, but here we have to draw two structures because chlorine atoms are two into picture. So this is now chlorine. This is the actually atoms. Okay, now the see, I will show you in a different manner. In the last shell, it has a 7 electron shared by this chlorine atom and 1 electron is shared by the calcium. So how many atoms are there? How many atoms are there in this case? 8 electrons. So chlorine is stable right now. So let's talk about here. Let's talk about this chlorine is going to share a 7 electron and one atom is shared by electron. So in this case, if you talk about this chlorine, again is going to stable because 8 plus 1, sorry, 7 plus 8 is 8 electrons. So octet is complete right now. Octet of this chlorine molecule and this chlorine molecule is stable right now because calcium has shared 1 electron here, 1 electron here. So same case happening here. So this is show the electron dot structures. So now the question is that why there are two molecules of chlorine? Because calcium is going to share two electrons, one gained by one chlorine atom, second gained by second chlorine atom. So these are the points to understand. Now let's talk about the characteristic of the electrovalent compound. When I talk about the electrovalent, that is same as the ionic compound. So let's talk about the crystal of that. So when we talk about the crystal structure in the solid state of electrovalent compound, anions and cations are arranged in the regular manner. See, the anions and the cations are arranged in the regular manner. This is a crystal in which anions are surrounded by the definite numbers of cations and the vice versa. When you talk about the physical nature, okay, before we move ahead to physical nature, let's complete one more point which is remaining in a crystal structure. So they have arranged in a regular manner. This is the point you have to understand very well. This is a regular manner. So crystal structure is a regular manner. So it is a repeating atoms or molecule structure is get repeated over a longer period. So this crystal show in a regular manner. These crystals in which anions are surrounded by a definite number of cation and the vice versa. So anions and cations have a proper propositions or proper proportions of the anions and cations are maintained in a crystal structure, and that's why they are showing the regular manner or regularity or periodicity. Okay, now let's move to the physical nature. Ionic or electrovalent compounds are generally hard. Why they are so hard? Because see, in case of sodium, when you touch the sodium chloride, that is your common salt, you find a hardness because sodium already loses its electron towards the chlorine and they have formed a strong bond. As they have a strong bond, definitely as we consider in earlier slide, the solubility is also very fast or greater as compared to the other bond. So as one atom is loses electron towards that another atom, so just they have bonded very strongly, and that's why the resultant physical nature come into as a hardness. So their hardness increases with the increasing ionic charge. If there is ionic charge +1 and there is -1 and the bond is formed, it's quite hard. But as with the charge is going on, that plus 2 plus 3 plus 3, 2 minus 3 minus 4 minus, and the bond is formed respectively or irrespectively between those charges, then definitely the chances of hardness also changes or increases. So decreasing the distance between ions. Hardness increases with increase in ionic charge, and the decreases distance. And when hardness decreases, because distance between the ions is much more. Hmm. So what are the 2 points we have to consider in physical nature? First, that is hardness increases with the increase in ionic charge as the ion charge is increasing, plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, 4 minus 5 minus 6 minus, then the hardness is increases. But the distance between two atoms is decreasing, then the hardness also decreases. These are the 2 points we have to consider from this slides. So let's move further. Solubility. See, already we discussed. Now we have put some points which are important. So positive ions, let's study this. Positive ions of ionic compounds attaches to the negative part of a polar solvent, and a negative ion of a ionic compound attach with the positive part of a polar solvent. What is a polar solvent first? That is more important point. Polar means having a positive and negative charge, or it get attracted. See, we have seen a dipole moment. Those solvent which show the dipolarity or dipole-dipole interaction is called a polar solvent. In case of water, we have seen. In case of HCl, we have seen. So these solvents are called as a polar. In such presence of the polar solvent, if the show if that solvent is this solvent is going to show positive or negative ions, that is ionic compound. Okay, so then the solubility has some changes. So let's see what those are changes. Therefore, ionic or electrovalent compounds are soluble in a polar solvent like a water, and insoluble in non-polar solvent like a benzene, ether, and alcohol. So why this is going to happen? See, we have seen a hydrogen. There is a in a case of water. See, let's take another pen. In case of water, there is a hydrogen bonding, and because of the hydrogen bonding, the solubility is increases. Okay, in case of any salt, when you add into the water, it's get dissolved, so solubility is increases. And water is a advantage of water is what it is: a polar solvent having a positive charge and positive and negative charge. So in case of water molecule, oxygen has a partial negative charge and hydrogen have a partial positive charge, and because of this the solubility increases. But in case of insoluble, that because in case of non-polar solvents such as a benzene, ether, and alcohol, this hydrogen bonding is very less, and the solubility also decreases of a ionic bonding. So what we have seen in this slide, the solubility is decreases in case of non-polar solvent, but it is very good in case of polar solvent. Okay, so let's move further. Let's talk about the melting point and the boiling point. So when you talk about the melting point or the boiling point, in case of ionic bonds or electrovalent bonds, they have a high melting and a boiling point because they need a large amount of energy to break a strong ionic bond. Explanation of this point is very simple. So let's begin with this. So when you talk about the ionic bonds, they form because of the ions. One loses the electron, one accepts the electron, and there is a formation of the strong bonds. And now, what is a melting point? The temperature at which substance melt. And the what is boiling point? The temperature at which substance boils. So these are the basic things we all know. So for the melting point or the boiling point, we are providing the energy. As we providing the energy, definitely that energy is going to break the bonds or the interaction between the two atoms. So how much energy is required, on that basis high and the low melting or a boiling point represents. Correct? Have you got my point, students? So what I'm trying to say is that whatever energy is provided, that energy is utilized to break those bonds. In the case of electrovalent or ionic compounds, the energy which is required to break the bonds is much higher as compared to the other bonds. So that's why the melting points and the boiling points are found to be greater in this ionic bonds. So these are the point we have to understand. So let's move further. So what is a duplet? See, we have talked about duplet, octet. Okay, we have talked about, see, what about, we have talked about the duplet, we have talked about the octet. So now let's talk in very detailed manner. What is this? Okay, as per your syllabus, these points are a little bit after this information. So let's talk about this. So what is duplet? When you talk about the duplet, the name itself suggests that duplets mean two electrons present in the outermost orbit. So let's read hydrogen atom and helium atom. And this is duplet is very limited towards the hydrogen and helium all over the periodic table, because um, other atoms do not have only two, they have more than two atoms, correct, more than two electrons, correct. So in case of hydrogen and helium, see, in case of hydrogen it has one electron, in case of helium two electron. So this rule of duplet is only limited up till hydrogen and helium. So hydrogen and helium atoms are the smallest elements in the nature and have only one orbital around the nucleus. So they possess only one orbit around the nucleus. This orbital is called as a first orbital. This orbital is called as the first orbital. This orbital can contain a maximum of two electrons. This orbital can contain a maximum of two electrons. So whatever, see, let's draw the diagram. We'll understand that. Let's talk about two atoms. One will be the hydrogen, one will be the helium. Suppose this is a hydrogen and this will be the helium. Now, what is the remaining part? Show the electron. That is also important part. Show the electron. So let's show the electrons. In case of hydrogen, only one electron is moving. Correct. I'm going to show you in a different color. Okay. So in case of hydrogen, only one electron is revolving, and in case of helium, two electrons are revolving around the nucleus. Okay, so this point is very much clear. Only the one electron is revolving in this case. In this case, two electrons are revolving around the helium atom. So this orbit can contain maximum two electrons. To orbit which is very near to the nucleus, see, this atom is very, this is a nucleus, this is a nucleus, and this, see, this is very close to the nucleus, so it's going to have accommodate only the two electrons. So hydrogen atom one electron and helium has a two electron. Because of what? The orbit or the shell which is nearer to the nucleus only can accommodate only the two electrons because of the its property. So hence helium is called a duplet. Helium has a maximum number of electrons that can be have. So helium has two electron and the accommodation capacity of the orbit is fulfilled. But in case of hydrogen, it can accommodate two, but it has only one. So here arises of the duplet rule. Therefore, helium is also an inert gases. See, helium is inert gases because it's completed duplet rule. So we have already discussed, if the capacity of that shell, if in case nearer to the nucleus, it's called duplet. If it is far from the nucleus, it's called octet. So in case of helium, the duplet rule is still fulfilled and now it is free. It's inert gas, it's a noble gas. But in case of hydrogen, it's not free noble gases. Why? Because it is an incomplete, its orbit is incomplete, it's not fulfilled with the two electron, it has only one electron, and that's why it is an incomplete shell. Okay, so these are the 2 points you have to remember. So what is a duplet? Let's revise with me. Duplet is a property in which if the orbit nearer to the nucleus accommodate with a maximum capacity, that is a 2 electron, then the atom is called the duplet. And because of the duplet completion, it achieves the noble gas configuration. So these are the points we have to discuss. Okay, so let's move further. So thus hydrogen atom alone is very reactive. So the question arises that, see guys, Why the hydrogen is so reactive? Now tell me the answer. Now tell me the answer. Answer is in front of you. Whatever you're going to discuss, it will be the answer. So why hydrogen atom is so reactive? Now, first, every atom wants to be stable. Hydrogen is not completed its duplet rule. It has one electron in its outermost shell. For the completion of the duplet rule, so it can get a stability, it's react with every other molecule. So that's why it is so reactive. This is the answer of this question. Okay, so let's move further. And it tends to form a covalent bond with the another hydrogen atom by sharing the only electron they have. So why hydrogen form? Another question will be like, why hydrogen found in the hydrogen-hydrogen bonding, that is H2 molecule? Because for a completion of a duplet, which leads to the stability. For the stability purpose, it forms a covalent bond with the another hydrogen atom and the duplet is complete. So then this hydrogen atom becomes duplet as they now have two electrons in their outermost orbit. But in case of lithium, can also behave as a duplet by removing the electron. In case of lithium, I will show you by this diagram or atomic representation, you can say in a simple manner. See, suppose this is a representation of a lithium. Lithium has two in a first shell, and if you draw the another shell, it will be have a one electron revolving. So what is this? This is a lithium molecule, sorry, lithium atom here. Now see, lithium has what? Duplet is complete in the first shell only, and the second next shell to the this is having the one electron. So but lithium can also behave as a duplet because it's nearer to the what? Duplet rule. Removing the electron from, if this electron is removed from the outermost shell, see what happened. By removing the electron from the outermost orbit, it can be behave as a duplet. The electron configuration of lithium is what? 1s2, 2s1. What is that s2? The shell which is nearer to the nucleus is called s orbital. So s orbital is written over here. How many electrons are there? 1, 2. 2 is written over there. This is the first, this is the second, and how many electrons in there? Second one. So 1s2, 2s1. By removing the 2s1 electron, if I remove this electron, let's remove this electron. Okay, if you remove this electron, now look at this atom. It seems like it's complete its duplet. So it can become a duplet. It can become a duplet. In this case, helium H minus and lithium plus, because hydrogen accept the electron, that is why negative charge. Lithium loses the electron, that's why positive charge, as the duplets can exist as a stable duplets. So these are the points you have to consider here. Okay, let's move further. Now let's talk about duplet. What is the duplet? We have already know that. Now let's talk about the octet, and the octet rule is followed by many atoms in the periodic table. Okay, so what is the octet? Let's discover it. An octet is an atom or an ion having a 8 electron in the outermost shell of the atom. So if there is a 8 electrons in the outermost shell, the octet is fulfilled. All the noble gases except the helium, because helium follow the duplet rule, have the 8 electrons and are inert in nature. So what is the information is talking about? This information indicating that in noble gases, inert gases, the helium is always follow the duplet rule because it has a one shell and accommodation only the 2 electrons. So that is exception. But apart from that helium, all the noble gases, inert gases are follow the octet rule. So the electron configuration of noble gas will be end as 1s2 np6. This p shell have a 6 electron, this s shell 2 electron, total talk as a considered as a 8 electron. Okay, so that's how octet rule is complete. In the outermost shell, if it contains 8 electron, then the octet is complete. This is the exact rule of the octet. Let's talk about the examples here. For example, the electron configuration of neon is, what's that? Let's see. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. As let's count in the outermost shell, p is a 6, s is a 2. Total count is 8. Yes. So octet is complete. So neon is an inert gases. Okay. Other elements having 7, 6, etc. Electrons in the outermost orbit tends to obey the octet rule by the obtaining electron from the outside. See, noble gases or inert gases are only one having the 8 electrons. The electrons of other atoms, I mean, we are going to talk about the outermost shell of the other atoms are lacking electrons. They can be 7, they can be 6. Okay, let's talk about the 7, that is chlorine, iodine, bromine. Let's talk about the 6, it may be different atoms, right? So they do not possess the 8 electron, but they try to gain it from the outside. So some other elements having 1 or 2 electrons tend to lose. Suppose if I am having 7 electron, in case of chlorine, it has a 7 electron. So instead of losing, it try to gain to complete it 8. But in case of lithium, what we have seen, it loses the electron, correct, to get the duplet. So in case of octet rule, if the electron, let's take example of the sodium, in our outermost shell, it has a 1 electron, but whenever it loses, it's completed the octet because inside that. So let's talk about in a diagrammatic way, you will understand fully. Okay, so let's talk. In case of sodium, see, this is the nucleus and this is the 8 electrons and this is a 1 electron revolving around the thing. Let's take example of atom having the 8 electron inside the inner shell and the outer shell has a 1 electron. Okay, what happen if it loses this 1 electron? Is octet is complete? Correct. So in same cases, we are going to talk about this. So whenever the elements having 1 or 2 electrons in the outermost shell, they will lose it. But whenever they have a 7 or 6, they will gain it. So these are the point we are going to talk about. Okay, children. Okay, let's move further. But the other elements in the middle part, if they don't have a 1 or 2 or 6, or they may lie on the same in the middle case, in the periodic table, will form a new bonds with the elements having excess electron to share those electrons and becomes an octet. So there are 3 categories we have seen. If they have a 7 or 6 electron, they will gain electron. If they're having 2 or 1 electron in the last shell, they will lose electron. But what happens if they are standing in middle case? They will form a new bonds having with elements having excess electron to share those electrons and becomes an octet. So these are the 3 cases we have to concluded or calculated in this case. Okay, let's move further. Octet rule. Let's talk in a point-wise manner. What is the octet rule? The atom that participate in a covalent bonding share electrons in a way that enables them to acquire a stability or acquire a stable. So what is a stability? Having a or completion of the octet rule, having the 8 electron in the outermost shell, it's called a stability. Why it's called stability? Because noble gases have that electronic configuration and they are stable, they are inert, they are not reactive to anyone. So that's why every atom in the periodic table, every element in the periodic table try to mimic same as that of the inert gases. So those atoms participate in the covalent bonding, share electrons in a way enables to them to acquire a stability. Electronic configuration or a full valence shell This means that they want to acquire, they want it badly. They can lose the electron, they can gain the electron just to complete the octet, and they want to enjoy their stability. The electronic configuration of the noble gases of their raw, obviously the name of this rule is a misnomer. So this is the thing we have to talk about. Helium, the noble gas of the first row, has only 2 electrons. Hydrogen, the only element in the first row besides the helium, fulfills the octet rule by the sharing of 2 electrons only. So this is the things we have to consider while talking about these slides. So I hope the octet rule is very clear in your mind. So let's move further. Now we're going to talk about the electron dot structure in a further slides. Okay, so let's focus on this. Okay students, right now let's focus on electron dot structures. When I talk about the electron dot structures, we already discussed some points, but here we're going to talk about in detailed manner. So see, you can see here in this session what I'm taking right now. Many points are repeating, but whenever I'm talking it or whenever I'm putting in front of you with the help of these slides, a new information I want to convey towards you. Okay, so let's talk about the electron dot structures. These are the helpful tools in thinking about the bonding. So electron structure reveals the information how much or how strong or how strengthening of the bonding. So it gives the idea of the bonding just by giving a number of the electrons, how much they are shared between the two atoms. These are the helpful tools in thinking about the bonding. It's a pictorial representation of the valence electron configuration around an atom. So how much electrons are shared from one atom towards the another atom. It give a pictorial representation. Okay, so we will only consider s orbit and p orbit, or we can say in simply manner s orbit or s block element and the p block elements. These are the main groups, and consequently only be concerned with the s and p orbital. So in case of electron dot structure, we are going to primarily focus on the s orbital and the p orbital. Why this is so? Because the electron structure of this element, they are fall under the main group. This is easy to understand. So these are the things. So let's talk about the carbon. Carbon has or exhibit this electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. So how many electrons are there? Count it. 2 plus 2, 4, and this 2 leads to the formation of 6 electron. So carbon has 6 electron. Okay, but as, see, I will tell you, as this orbital is nearer to the nucleus, it is not going to consider. Only the last shell is going to be considered and is counted as a 2 plus 2, 4 electron. So in the outermost shell of the carbon, how many electrons are there? 4 valence electron. Let's count it with a proper diagrammatic way. So let's talk about first nucleus, then let's talk about the first orbit, and then will be the second orbit. Now as per the rule, see, as per the rule, what is that? Let's see here. In the first orbit there are 2 electrons, and the capacity of the accommodation of electron is 2 only, so it's fulfilled right now. Okay, out of 6, 2 has gone here. Now how many remaining? 4 are remaining, so they will be in this manner. Correct. So the outermost, see, I will see, the outermost shell only have a 4 electron, and that is called as a 4 valence electron. So this is the diagrammatic representation of this. Okay, I hope you have understood that. So let's move further. Okay, so in this case, they have represented in a different way or a similar way, you can say. And let's see what they have represented. They have a positive charge here plus C. We know that proton, number of proton is equal to number of electron. Hence, they have shown at the center plus 6 charge and the 6 electron out of the shell. Whatever I show you in the earlier diagram is a similar diagram. In the first shell, they have a 2 electron. In the last shell, they have a 4 electrons. So this is the case in case of carbon. Okay, let's move further. So electron dot structures, that is valence electrons, are represented by the dots placed around the chemical symbol. So valence electrons are represented by the dots placed around the chemical symbol. Electrons are placed up to 2 on each side of the elemental symbol for a maximum of the 8. So what is the criteria? Electrons are placed up to 2 on each side. Each side there is a 2 electron and the maximum you can show the 8 electron, which is the number of electrons in a filled S and P shell. So here we considering S orbital and P orbital. So here we consider this point minimum 2 number, maximum 8 number. So we place a single electron on each side before pairing them up. This is related to the Hund's rule. Period 1, that contains hydrogen and the helium, represents an exception where only a maximum of the 2 electrons are placed on the one side of the elements. Why is this so? So we already know that in case of hydrogen, only one electron is there. Accommodation capacity of the first shell, that is the s orbital, is the 2 electrons. But hydrogen unfortunately have 1 electron, and that's why it's a so reactive. But in case of helium, it's quite different. It is inert because accommodation capacity of 2 electrons is already fulfilled. Duplet is complete, and that's why it's inert. Correct. Now let's move further. Electrons do dot structures for the first two periods. It shows the number of valence electrons related to the group number. Okay, let's consider this in a further slide. You will come to know that what I'm trying to convey. Okay, so in front of you right now, hydrogen is there, helium is there. They are exceptional cases because they show the duplet. In case in this period, whole this period. Okay, I'm going to talk about whole this period. Lithium, barium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and neon are going to show or going to fall under this category. Okay. So covalent bonds, that is the sharing of electrons, unlike the ionic bonds where electrons are thought of a being gain or loss. So right now we are talking about the covalent bonds. So what is a covalent bond? Those bonds which form due to the sharing of electrons. Unlike ionic compounds where electrons are thought of being gain or lost. In case of ionic compound, we just have an information, that is we have understanding that ionic bonds, one loses, one gains. Correct. But in case of covalent bond, both the atoms actually share the electrons in amongst them, and they seems to be have a complete of a octet and a duplet in case of hydrogen. So non-metal exhibit both the covalent and ionic bonds. So non-metal are those who show covalent as well as ionic bonds. Compounds with the metals, non-metals, generally gain an electron, En stand for electron, and become negatively charged. Okay, compounds with other non-metals, valence electron are generally shared to achieve filled the valence shell. Sharing electron, that means covalent bonding, that is the sharing of electron is the glue that binds atoms together. So what we are going to talking here, or what we are talking here is that if these two atoms are share the electrons, okay, and this middle part, this is a region where electrons have been shared, is actually acting like glue that binds atoms together. So this is the information we have interpreted with this slide. So what is a covalent bond, guys? It's a sharing of electron bonds, and those share of electron act like a glue or form a bond between the two atoms which have share the electrons. Correct? Okay. Now let's move further. Let's talk about example, that is hydrogen. Now in this case, this hydrogen electron is shown by the dot and this hydrogen electron is shown by the cross. Whenever they combine, okay, they are individually present right now. Whenever they combine, they form a structure like this. This is hydrogen, electron of hydrogen. This is electron of this hydrogen. So whenever they share, this is the region we are talking about. Okay, so 2 electron per bond, hydrogen share. So sometimes we use X instead of a dot to represent an electron. So if there should be no confusion between which electron is shared by the hydrogen and which electron is shared by another hydrogen. Suppose I'm talking in this case. Suppose I'm drawing the diagram like this. Okay, right now I'm talking about this hydrogen and this hydrogen. Now I'm showing you this electron, this electron. Now tell me which electron shared by which hydrogen. In case of hydrogen, is very easy to interpret. This hydrogen is showing its hydrogen and this is very easy of this hydrogen. But suppose there are many electrons are accommodated in this region of sharing, then it might be difficult to understand which electron shared by which atom or which molecule. Correct? So to avoid that confusion, we have show sometime X or we have show dot for representation of the electron. Both are the one and the same things. Okay. Now tell me again why we are so reliable on the electron dot structure. The first point is that electron dot structure reveals the information about how many electrons are shared and how many those only electrons are from the bonds. So that's why we prefer electron dot structure. As we move ahead, let's talk about the chlorine. You will see a electron dot structure of chlorine like this. Now I'm not going to represent anything. I'm going to say some words or statements. You just have to cross check with it. Okay. Now the dot structure of first chlorine electron is a dot structure. In the second chlorine is XXX. Now count in the first chlorine. Okay, count in a first chlorine how many electrons are there. 7 electron. Correct. How many electrons there in this chlorine? 7 electron. Now why they are combining? Because they have to complete their octet. Now tell me one thing, if they combine 7 plus 7 is like 14. So it's not point of completing the octet rule. Correct. Now let's talk about in this manner. If suppose this is a one shell of this chlorine, okay, let's talk about in different manner so you will understand in better way. So I'm taking this chlorine like this. Let's change the color. This chlorine like this. Okay, give me a moment. I will draw it for you guys. Okay, now it's correct. Now tell me one thing. Suppose, okay, suppose I'm going to talk about this. Okay, suppose this chlorine is not existing. Okay, now what happened is that now count the electron around the chlorine. Let's count with this. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 6. Oh, now chlorine has completed its octet. Correct. Right now, similarly, in this manner, now I'm going to hide this chlorine. Okay, now count how many how many electrons are there surrounded in the chlorine structure. Count it. Let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now again, this chlorine also exhibit what? The octet rule. This is how sharing works. Okay, this is how sharing works. So you have better understood that. Now tell me one thing. I will tell you. This is the region where, see, this is the region where chlorine has shared the electron, and that represented by here. Okay, that is represented by in this manner. So whenever there is a share of 2 electrons, there is a formation of one bond. Again, remember the thing, whenever there is a formation of or sharing of the 2 electrons, there is a formation of one bond and represented by this. And again, in a very abrasive manner or very short manner, only the one bond is represented. That means this chlorine has shared one electron, this chlorine has shared one electron. So this is a accurate information about the dot structures. Okay, have you understood that? Yes, correct. So let's move further for understanding in a better way. Now octet rule for S and the p block elements. The atoms combine and form bonds either by the transferring electron to form ions or by sharing electrons in a covalent bond until each atom is surrounded by the 8 valence electron. That's true. In octet rule, we need 8 electron. In duplet rule, we need 2 electron. Here we're going to talk about the octet rule. So electrons in the bonds are considering in a counting the electrons in the both atoms involved in the bond. So hydrogen and helium are the exception because they follow the duplet rule. So whatever we have talked in earlier slide, this is the exact interpretation of that slide. Now in case of H2O, that is water molecule, representation is in front of you. So what happened exactly? Let's point out. This hydrogen sharing one electron, this hydrogen sharing one electron. Whenever they share it, what happens? Let's see. Okay, now let's count in this manner again. Let's talk about the oxygen. How many electrons are surrounded to the oxygen? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Octet is complete in case of oxygen. Let's count this hydrogen and then this hydrogen. You can clearly see the duplet is complete. So how the sharing works? This is how it works. So actually sharing of electron is seems like the octet rule is completed. Correct? Have you got my point, guys? Okay, so this is a similar way here to understand. So this is the atomic representation. Atomic representation is here. Hydrogen is going to share one electron. This hydrogen is going to share one electron, and this is going to add up here, add up here. And when we count is come as a 8, and when we count this as a 2, and then this as a 2. So these are the things we already done here. So this still look at here. The blue one represented the hydrogen, blue one represented hydrogen. So whenever we count in this manner as a whole shell, we consider the electron shared by hydrogen as well, and that is count up as ending count as a 8 electron. Okay, this is a criteria for the fulfill of the octet rule. So exactly they do not possess, but there's a sharing. So we can say covalent bond is a sharing of electron, or we can say, suppose I want to buy a mobile phone of 18,000, but right now I just have a 15,000 with me. So I can borrow 3,000 from my friend or from any relative, correct, for that purpose. So what happens right now? Now this total 18,000 is not my property. Out of that, 3 is my friends or relative properties. I mean, they belong to them. So what? So exact net amount is what? 18,000. But I know from where I have borrowed. But the shopkeeper from where I'm buying, they are not aware about that. They just worry about the money, correct? Whatever they're getting. So same happen is this. Octet rule is not worry about from where the atom is getting another electron. It's worry about, yes, octet rule is complete. I mean, 8 electrons are there in the shell. Yes, you have passed the examination. Now we are stable. So this is the case happening in this atoms. Okay. So let's move further. So how would you put together nitrogen and hydrogen to form a compound? That is, we are going to talk about the ammonia. So in case of water molecule, we have seen something. Hydrogen is sharing one electron, another hydrogen is sharing one electron, and they form a bond. The similar way, in a similar way, how you jot down the information of nitrogen and hydrogen to form a ammonia. So let's see here. So here is, there are three hydrogen sharing the electron towards the nitrogen. Now let's count. This hydrogen has one electron, this hydrogen has one electron, this hydrogen has one electron. Now count the electrons in the nitrogen before bonding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Now if they shared, suppose I'm drawing like this. If they share electron, now it's a property belong to the nitrogen. Count this, already we count as a 5, this 6, 7 and 8. Now octet is complete in case of nitrogen. Similar way, if you draw the structure like this, okay, so this hydrogen duplet is complete, in this hydrogen duplet is complete, this hydrogen duplet is complete, correct? And this has a extra, it's called a lone pair of electrons. So bonding pair is this, which is shared with the hydrogen, okay? Bonding pair which share with the hydrogen, and lone pair which is remaining part, that's called lone pair of electrons, correct? So shall we move ahead? Yes, definitely. Now, how about carbon and hydrogen? So we are talking about the methane, that is a natural gases. So tell me one thing, how many hydrogens were in a methane? H4, correct? That is CH4 is a molecular formula of the methane. So before we move ahead, tell me guys, how many hydrogens are there? 4. How many electrons they are going to share? 4. How many carbons are there? 1. Okay, at the outermost shell of the carbon, how many electrons are there? 4. So how many electrons required for fulfilling the octet rule by the carbon? 4. So definitely the answer is in front of you. Carbon is going to share their 4 electron, hydrogen is going to share, that means the 4 hydrogen are going to share their 1 electron. How many there? 4 from carbon, 4 from hydrogen. It's going to talk about what? It sum up as 8 electron. Okay, so let's have a look on this. See here. So in this case, again you can correlate whatever I have told you in earlier slide. This hydrogen, this hydrogen, this hydrogen sharing their electron, and whenever they come up close, then share with the carbon. Carbon already possesses 4 electron. Now it's gained this 4 electron. It's completed its octet. But in case of hydrogen, as we look at here, see, look at here, this hydrogen, duplet is complete, duplet is complete, duplet is complete, and duplet is complete. Here, as in case of ammonia, there is no lone pair of electron in this case. So here is methane structure. And now, as we have discussed, a 2 electron represent one bond. So these 2 electrons represent one bond. These are the things. So simply we can jot down with the line, and that line represent this electrons. So this is clear in your mind. Let's move further. The formula for the carbon tetrachloride. We are going to talk about the carbon tetrachloride. As we move ahead, you can see the complexity is increasing. Earlier there was only hydrogen, chlorine, so it's quite easy to understand. Now we are moving to the CH4. It's again quite easy, but when you talk about the carbon tetrachloride, we're going to talk about the 4 chlorine and 1 carbon. See, now tell me one thing. How many electrons are there in the chlorine shell? Last shell I'm talking about, 7. So how many chlorines are there? 4. Okay, and carbon 4. Okay, so let's talk about this. It's an electron dot structure as we follow. Okay, before we move ahead, I'm going to talk about the representation of things. This is a carbon molecule, this is the chlorine molecule. what going to happen further? I'm going to talk in a very sophisticated manner here. So let me talk. Okay. So this is carbon. This is chlorine. As we know that carbon has a 4 electron in the outermost shell and chlorine has a 7 electron in the outermost shell. Chlorine required 1 electron to fulfill his octet rule. Okay, so this 4 carbon, suppose I'm going to talk about 1 carbon, 1 chlorine. So out of 4, 1 electron is shared by this carbon. So octet rule is complete in case of chlorine. Okay, so now carbon now still remaining with a 3 electron, which is shared with the 3 chlorine, which leads to formation of octet completion of the 3 chlorine. And instead of that, carbon is also seems to have a octet fulfill. So let's see how it's formed. So have you got my point, guys? Okay, so let's move further. See, look at here. So I was talking about this beautiful structure. I know it's quite maybe or not difficult, but still it's quite enjoyable. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is shared by the electron by chlorine. This electron shared by the carbon. So one chlorine, when you talk about, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. So this is octet is complete in this chlorine, in this chlorine also, in this chlorine also, and in this chlorine also. Correct. So, but when you talk about the carbon, 4 dots and 4 cross result into the octet is complete. So both are fulfilled, that is electron dot structure. And when you just change this into a bond, it will be a very similar or very nice structure we can find sophisticated manner. So what I was talking about that, as I asked you, right, it's a very complex or easy. So in a dot structure, it's quite easy to handle whenever there are 2 or 3 electrons, but whenever it's like 7 electron, we have to draw it, it's quite difficult to handle. So if it represented into bond, it's make it easy to understand again. Correct. So these are the interpretation of these slides. Our next slide will talk about a comparison of electrovalent and covalent compound. So we are going to talk about comparison now. So electrovalent and the covalent compound. So let's ready. Okay. So in case of, okay, first, electrovalent compounds are non-volatile, whereas the covalent compounds are volatile. Electrovalent, which is ionic bond formed with the positive and negative charge, hardness is more, so they are non-volatile as the clue is representing, and covalent compounds are volatile. Electrovalent, second point I'm trying to convey is that electrovalent compounds are good conductor of the heat, whereas covalent compounds are bad conductor of heat. Electrovalent compounds are soluble in water and and insoluble in an organic solvent, whereas covalent compounds are insoluble in water and soluble in organic solvents. The 4 point that we are considering, electrovalent compounds have a high melting and a boiling point, whereas a covalent compound have a low melting point and a boiling point. Now just look at these 4 points. The fourth point we already discussed about the high melting point and low melting point, and the same explanation goes with all these 3 remaining points. So as we discussed, ionic bonds are very strong, covalent also strong, but ionic is just because of the positive negative interaction, covalent because of the sharing of the electrons. Okay, this has the point to be considered to understand these 4 points. Okay, just have a look again on this and then we move further. Okay, so let's talk about this slide, and this will reveal about some another points. An ionic bond is formed by the transfer of the valence electrons from one atom to another. A covalent bond is formed by the mutual sharing of the electrons between the pairs of the atoms of non-metallic elements. So ionic bond, whichever form by transfer of valence electron, as we consider the lose and the gain of electron, correct? But a covalent bond is formed by the mutual sharing. So there is one type of chemical bond called a coordinate covalent bond. As I promised when I start this session, that we are going to talk about more about ionic and covalent, and at the end of this session we're going to talk about the coordinate or covalent bonds. Okay, so let's begin with this. So there is a combination of ionic and covalent in that a coordinate covalent bond. So let's begin with this. Okay, so what is the coordinate covalent? See, the word coordinate and covalent bond, it's a what combination of ionic and covalent. So let's see, a coordinate covalent bond. Okay, a coordinate covalent bond is a formed by a shared pair of electron. Again, sharing of pair of electron, that means covalent. With the both of the electrons coming from the same atom. Have you got the point? When you talk about the sharing of electron, that means a covalent bond. But here is a twist in this point: both the electron coming from the same atom. In the other words, one of the combining atom contribute both the shared electrons. So what are they? Donor and acceptor. The atom that contribute to the two electron is known as the donor. Have you got the exact point? When you talk about the covalent, it's a sharing of electron, but here it's also sharing of electron, but the donor which is sharing the electron is sharing two electron at the simultaneously. An acceptor, the atom or a group, see, and the acceptor is maybe atom or it's maybe group that accepted these two electron. I'm emphasizing on the word that is a two electron is known as the acceptor. So donor will donate two electron and the acceptor will accept two electron. So these are the points we should consider for understanding the coordinate covalent bond. So the bond formed between two atoms by sharing a pair of electrons provided entirely by the one of the combining atom. What is the point here? Let's understand. The electrons provided by these two electrons which is combining is provided by the same atom, but shared by both is called a coordinate bond. Again, I'm repeating guys for you. Okay, the bond formed between the two atoms. There is a formation bond between the two atoms. That's correct. By sharing of pair of electron, that also correct. Now, who is sharing this electron, which is got provided entirely by one atom? Means among two atoms. If this is atom one, this is atom two, is going to share entire two electron. Okay, but shared by both. This is atom A. This is atom B. This atom A is sharing the electron towards B, but both are sharing equally. That is the twist in this concept, that is called coordinate bond. This bond is represented by the arrow starting from the donor atom and ending to the acceptor. Means what they are actually showing, they are going to show in the arrow like this. Suppose I'm going to talk about this. This is atom 1, this is atom 2, and this is the coordinating bond between them, because this and this, so this is a and this is the B. A atom sharing two electron towards B, but even though they are sharing both equally. So this is the point you have to understand. The condition for formation of coordinate bond: first, one of the two atoms must have at least one lone pair of electron. That is a more important point. Lone pair of electron we have seen in case of NH3, that is ammonia, having one lone pair of electron. We also have seen in case of H2O, which have a two lone pair of electron. So nitrogen and oxygen are known to have a lone pair of electron. So this is the point we have to consider here. That is the one condition. Second condition, another atom should be short of at least lone pair of electron. Means one should be lone pair of electron and another should be the normal, which is not having a at least lone pair of electrons. Okay, this is the point we have to consider. Just look at the point 1 and look at the point 2. Okay, Now it's a representation, of the coordinate covalent bond. See, this is the donor, this is the acceptor, and this is the arrow which shows that the donor donating 2 electron, but both of these electrons sharing this 2 electron. Okay, so the coordinate covalent bond is represented by the using an arrow. The tail of the arrow indicates the donor. This is tail of the arrow, this is called a donor. And the head, this is the head, indicates acceptor of the electron pair in the bond formation. So donor is responsible for the donating the 2 electron, which is not accepted by, see, accepted by the acceptor, but still they are still share with the 2. So this is the point you have to understand. Now, example of the compounds with a coordinate compound bond, formation of the hydronium ion, it can be represented as a H3O plus. Now, tell me one thing, when you talk about the H2O, see, I'm going to talk about here. When you talk about the H O, okay, 1 second, it's the O, okay. Now, see, I completed. Whenever we talk about the H2O molecule, okay, what is the difference between H2O and H3O molecule? You can say one hydrogen extra. So we have to talk about one lone pair of electron. That hydrogen is forming a bond with this lone pair of electron and leads to formation of the hydronium ion. So point is clear? Okay. So in this case, one having the lone pair of electron, one is lacking, and this second one is combining with those lone pair of electron. It's not combining with the valence electron. Valence electron already done or already taken by the another atom. In this case, lone pair of electrons are participating for the formation of the bond. So who is participating in the formation of bond of the coordinate covalent? Lone pair of electron. So let's talk about discussion. A water molecule is formed by the mutual sharing of the electrons between one oxygen and the 2 hydrogen atoms, which result in the formation of the 2 single covalent bonds. Correct. Here the oxygen atom contains 2 lone pair of electrons after attaining the octet configuration. So we have seen the water molecule like this having 2 lone pair of electron upper side and lower side. Okay, because they have the extra electron, extra pocket electron, and then when the favorable condition occurs, they combine with another hydrogen, leads to formation of hydronium ion. So this is the case. Okay, see, here you can see a water molecule which is bonded with the 2 hydrogen. Now I will ask the question, and definitely I'm going to give you answer only. Okay, because it's a one-way communication. So in this case, this bond is represented in that nothing but sharing of the electron like this and like this, correct? So for the completion of the duplet rule, we have to consider this, and for hydrogen we have to consider this. Okay, now count for the oxygen. I'm going to take a red ink so you can understand. 1, 2, sorry, count from here so it will be easy for you. I will show you some things. Okay, let's take about this. Okay, and this bond is showing to 1, and this is going to show 1, because another part is shared with this hydrogen and this hydrogen. We are not going to consider this because we are going to talk about only oxygen. So now let me count the electrons. Okay, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6. This is 6 electrons are okay of oxygen only. But when you count this 7 and 8, so it will be octet is complete, correct? Okay, but having lone pair of electrons, we are considering this as a lone pair of electron. Again, if there is a confusion, again I'm going to talk about that. Oxygen After sharing the electron with the hydrogen, left with 4 electrons, and they pair as a 2 2, representing one pair, two pair, and this term has a lone pair of electron. Correct? Okay, so let's move further. The hydronium ion is a form when a water molecule bonds with a hydrogen ion. A hydrogen ion is formed by the loss of one electron and becomes H plus. Thus, it needs two more electrons to get a stable duplet configuration. When a water molecule and a hydrogen ion approach each other, the hydrogen ion accepts the lone pair of electron from the oxygen atom of the water molecule, which result in the formation of the coordinate covalent bond. So there is a formation of extra bond with another hydrogen with the help of this lone pair of electron, and that is called as a coordinate covalent bond. So thus, by sharing two electrons from the oxygen, the hydrogen gets a stable duplet configuration. Have you got my point? So that hydrogen which is combining, that is H3O plus, out of two is already shared, the one which is coming from outside and which is combining with the lone pair of electron, it's get its duplet complete, and now that's why it's now, yes, stable. Correct. So let's move further. See, look at this diagram. A water hydronium ion, sorry, hydrogen ion, and now it's formed hydronium ion. This is the exact representation. So just have a look on this. Okay, so this is a representation. Now tell me one thing, guys. Why there is a positive charge on the hydronium ion? Okay. Now the answer is same. Why? Because it's gained the electron. The one pair is got complete and only one remaining. That's why it's a positive charge over there. Okay. So can I comment on the point? Whenever the coordinate covalent bond are formed, they are formed with the help of the lone pair of electrons. Correct. So this is the actual representation that hydrogen is combining with the lone pair of electron of water molecule. So they are not interacting with the valence shell. They are interacting with the extra pocket electron, that is termed as a lone pair of electron. So formation of ammonium ion. We have seen NH3. See, I'm going to talk about this diagram, but before, let's talk about these things. Formation of ammonium ion, that is NH4 plus. The formula of ammonium is NH4 plus. The ammonium ion is formed by the formation of the coordinate covalent bond between an ammonia ion and a hydrogen ion. So see, in simple case, I will tell you, suppose there is a NH3 already present. Now tell me one thing. So nitrogen has a one lone pair of electron, and this poor hydrogen having a positive charge is going to form a bond with this two lone pair of electron. Now it's going to become, instead of this 3, it's going to become a 4 after combining. Correct. So this was the correct explanation about this. Okay. So let's move here. So bond between an ammonia ion and the hydrogen ion is called as a coordinate compound. Sorry, coordinate covalent bond. In ammonia, 3 hydrogen atoms from 3 single covalent bonds with a nitrogen. Hence, here a nitrogen atom has a lone pair of electron. So in case of oxygen, there are 2 lone pair of electron, but only one is taken into consideration. That is why there is a positive charge. But in ammonia, only one lone pair of electrons possessed by the nitrogen, and again there is a positive charge because one extra hydrogen is coming into the picture. So who is taking participation? Lone pair of electron, with whom the outer coming out from hydrogen coming from the outside. That is the point we have to consider. Okay, so now when ammonia is dissolved in water, it forms an ammonium ion. So whenever the ammonia we dissolve in a water, see, water has a hydronium ion, we already discussed that. It has an extra H. So this H is going to participate with this lone pair of electron and leads to formation of this structure, and whatever the explanation is given in this slide. So let's read it. The hydrogen ion from the water accept the lone pair of electrons of the nitrogen atom of the ammonia molecule, resulting in the formation of the coordinate covalent bond. Thus, the hydrogen ion, by sharing a lone pair of electron of a nitrogen, gets into a stable duplet configuration. This is the point we have to understand. Now let's talk about the formation of the NH3BF3 bond. So now let's clarify, or let's simplify it. This is the another molecule. This is the another molecule. As nitrogen possesses a lone pair of electron, that going to react with the boron and leads to formation of this compound. This is a quite simple explanation. As nitrogen donate, it's actually not donate, it actually gives, then that's why it possesses positive charge. As this B, as boron, accept that electron, lone pair of electron, it possesses negative charge. So this was a simple explanation. See, in earlier slide we have seen a simple atoms, because nitrogen and oxygen, but here we're going to talk about exact the exact what we are trying to about an exact molecule. So we are going to talk about the interaction between the molecules. The bond formed between ammonia and the boron trifluoride is a coordinate covalent bond. See here, the electron, this is lone pair of electrons, these are getting shared with this boron, and that's why the bond which is formed is called a coordinate covalent bond. Have you got my point, guys? Okay, so let's move further. Okay, before we move ahead, actually we done with the session. Okay, in a flow I couldn't recognize that, but we actually complete whatever the points are there in the syllabus. So this was the last point. I hope you understood well in this manner. Okay, so thank you for paying attention towards my session, and I hope your every doubt has cleared. Okay, thank you for your support.